The upcoming new moon on Wednesday, June 25th, apex at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's another activating lunar event, folks. I feel like I've been saying this the last several cycles. We're definitely living in interesting times, or maybe it's just me as somebody who has most of their personal planets in Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So we're just coming to the end of the time of year when my chart is getting tromped on. But regardless of how personal these transits have been for you, as a collective, we've definitely been getting hit with wave after wave of progressive energies, encouraging us to move out of the old paradigm of hustle and grind, patriarchy, masculinity, doing energy all of the time, into a more feminine, receptive, and expansive, heart-centered way of being. Not to say that one is better than the other. It's just the balance of polarity, because we've been in the masculine for too long. It is now the time of the feminine, okay? So in particular, this lunar event, with the sun and the moon being on top of each other, as they always are with the new moon, that's how it works, in the early degrees of Gemini, which is that mutable air, it is really giving the expansion of a new paradigm, curiosity, opening yourself up to flexible thinking. That's what mutable air is, right? Flexible thinking, flexible communication, being more, I keep saying flexible, but that's the best word for it. Running under an energy deficit myself at present, as I mentioned, my chart is being trounced on, but also I'm launching my first course starting tomorrow, and I've been busy getting that ready. So anywho, this particular new moon is even more potent in the sense that we not only have the sun and the moon on top of each other, but we also have Jupiter right there. Okay, so we can see here all three of these planets are going to be at basically the same point in the early degrees of Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter is expansion, it is abundance. So when it comes to Jupiter in Gemini, it's expanding your paradigm, the view that you have of the world, the way that you think, how you think, what you're thinking, maybe opening yourself up to different perspectives. And with the new moon, it's always the beginning of something. So this lunar cycle is going to be all about expanding your paradigm. And actually, just beautiful timing for me to be starting the first round of my astrology course called 13 Nacho Mama's Astrology. This is where we're looking at true sidereal astrology, 13 sign astrology, using the visible sky, and learning how to remove the middleman from this science that should be accessible to everybody. In the current model, the old hustle and grind, external locus, putting your authority outside of yourself kind of paradigm, you had to learn how to be an astrologer. You had to like get the books, you had to get the programs, because tropical astrology is not intuitive. It is all based on mathematics and calculations that are externalized using the mind. And we are moving away from that. Not to say that the mind is useless, but we're moving into a more heart-centered way of being, okay? So this, in particular, this little cluster right here is really giving that all by itself, okay? Now, with all of this Gemini energy, though, it is potential for anxiety, okay, because it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is also in kind of an interesting spot here, being in Cancer, okay? So Mercury in Cancer is all about your feels, right? Cardinal water with that Mercurian can kind of give like anxiety. It can give analysis paralysis. It can give rumination or worry also potentially, especially because Mercury is also opposing Pluto, which is in retrograde in Capricorn. So this is the dismantling of the old paradigm. So there might be some push and pull between your circumstances or the old paradigm reminding you of the limitations that you faced, but you wanting to like think differently or like be in your feels, or being in your feels because of the circumstances. But remember that this is the other way around. Your circumstances don't determine how you feel. You are the decider. Now, adding to this as well, we also, not pictured on this chart, we have a T-square to Chiron. Okay, so both Mercury and Pluto are squaring Chiron, which is the wounded healer. And this is in Pisces, around, so wounds around your spirituality, being seen, the intangible, that feminine receptive power, also your ability to receive. So you might be really in it as far as like a dark night of the soul. You might be feeling really torn between wanting to live this like spiritual, magical type of existence, but still having to pay the bills and dealing with the old paradigm in the form of the material world around you, and then being caught like being in your feels about it, right? But remember this new paradigm, right? All this energy in Gemini, the expansion here is really giving you the fuel to think differently, to retrain yourself, to have that internal locus of control and realize that everything that you're seeing outside of you is actually coming from within. Now, this cluster here is also in a tight square. So we have multiple planet squaring here between, you can't even see it because Saturn and Neptune are right on top of each other here. So we've got Saturn and Neptune squaring this lunar event. Okay, so the expansion, the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine, the push and the pull, with Jupiter in there expanding this, bringing more energy to this new paradigm, this new thought paradigm, pushing against Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, which is like Neptune is double whammies of Pisces energy, and Saturn is like Capricorn, right? So it's rules, regulations, limitations, creating a structure, doing things responsibly, bringing a certain seriousness to your spirituality. So these two things pushing up against each other is really giving the same kind of dynamic that I'm feeling into when I look at the Mercury opposing Pluto, right? So like wanting to think differently, wanting to think more emotionally and be in control of your feelings, but then bumping up against the real world limitations that previously, or as we've been indoctrinated in the overculture or the inverted society, we've been taught that you don't decide how you feel. You base how you feel on what's happening outside of you, and you need certain markers outside of yourself in order to feel a certain way. But this is opposite. It's upside down land. Okay, this is why I call it the inverted society, because it really is the other way around. So I feel like this tension here in particular is really giving blind faith. It's giving thinking differently, redirecting your thought, and like your thoughts are just part of it, right? This is where some of the new age and like secret teachings and things like that are only giving you part of the equation, which is how they friggin' get us. That's honestly how tropical astrology works as well, right? Because they give you enough information that it resonates like 75%, but it's not the full picture. Because it's not just how you think, it's also who you be, right? It's who you are being in every given moment. And Mars, actually, this is how we be, right? This is assertion, our doing energy. It's Aries energy in the form of a planet in Leo, is like really empowering self-expression. It's creativity, playfulness, wanting to be in that pleasure-filled kind of state of creation. Now, also not pictured in this particular set of aspects is a yod, okay? So there's actually two yods in this lunar event. We've got the first one with Mars as the apex, and then there's a quincunx between Saturn and Neptune, and then also Pluto, okay? So this is like a supportive energy, devotion, discipline when it comes to your spirituality, like valuing the spiritual life, making a plan to make yourself more receptive, opening yourself up to a more magical existence, being supported by Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn, dismantling the old way of being. Okay, so these two energies are supporting each other, and then they're both putting, it's like a 60-degree angle that would be pictured here, putting pressure on Mars in Leo. So this is really giving energy. Like the other thing with Mars and Leo is courage, right? So courageous self-expression without paying attention to the limitations in the physical world, without doing things the way that everybody else says that you need to do them, by following your heart, following your intuition, maybe learning your true sidereal, looking at your true sidereal human design and your gene keys for clues as far as what it is that will help you embody your magic, what role it is that you're here to play in the synarchy. And I'll give you a clue. It's basically whatever lights you up, okay? Whatever brings you real joy, whatever makes you playful. And it doesn't have to be some like crazy mission. Like it can literally just be having babies and raising them. It could be having a garden and growing things, right? Like it doesn't have to be like, I'm here as a new earth leader to save the world. Like, no, that is old paradigm, okay? That is the matrix wrapped up in a spiritual cloak, convincing you that if your mission isn't grandiose, then it's not worth doing. But we're here to just be humans, right? So whatever it is that helps you be yourself, what brings you joy, what makes you playful, what brings the pleasure to the surface for you. Now, the second yod actually has Pluto as the apex, so the point of the finger. The odd is called the finger of God, okay? So whatever the point is pointing towards, that's where the pressure is. So the second one is with Pluto as the apex, and then the quincunx going from Mars to this little cluster here in Gemini, okay? So these two energies, the courageous self-expression, playfulness, and pleasure in your being and your doing, is being supported by this new paradigm, thinking differently, expanding a new horizon, being curious about different perspectives, being able to hold different perspectives at once, not knowing anything. Like, if there's one thing I know as a Gemini rising, this is actually happening almost directly over my rising. So as one thing that I can definitely say as a Gemini rising, it is a gift to be able to hold different perspectives at once, because even with the amount of knowledge that I have, like, I don't really know anything for a fact, because knowing is a function of the mind, and I know that the mind is fallible. So if there's one thing I know, it's that I don't actually know shit. And I feel like that is really the motto of this new moon, okay? Whatever you think you know, throw it out the friggin' window and be open to a new perspective, because the world is a giant freaking paradox. Everything is true and not at the same time, depending on your experience. So if you're looking outside of yourself to determine what is real and true for you, then you're going to be led into whatever paradigm that external source is coming from, and not creating your own paradigm from the inside. And that is what we are here to remember, our power as the curator of our reality. Okay, so that's basically what this yacht is doing, right? With the pressure on Pluto. Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn is the dismantling of these old systems, the external locus of control, putting your authority outside of yourself. Okay, so this is really bringing transformation to your ability to create your reality, right? It's removing those limitations and blockages based on the external locus of control. And it's essentially like a call to reclaim your authority, right? It's fated for you to be throat chakras. I'm saying this. It's fated for you to be exactly as you are right now. Where you are is perfect. There's no lost time. There's no mistakes. Linear time is a function of the mind also, right? So remember, you're exactly where you need to be. Let things fall apart as they need to. Whatever's causing resistance or bringing you turmoil in your current experience is falling apart intentionally to make way for something that is more aligned with this new paradigm moving forward. It's just kind of funny I had throat chakra stuff, because I forgot to mention when I was looking at the T-square here with Mercury, Pluto, and Chiron, part of this, because of the square with Chiron to Mercury in particular, this is bringing wounds. So this is your communication, your transmission coming from cardinal water. Could be potential for some spicy emotional transmissions, but then also with Chiron in Pisces, this might make you feel limited in what you can say, or feeling like you're too much or you're not enough kind of energy. And same kind of energy as far as the wounding around the patriarchy, around these oppressive externalized sources of authority. We might be feeling like we're too weak, or we're not powerful enough, or it'll just never work kind of energy, right? So there really is like, even though it's a new moon, and like typically full moons are a bit more aggressive as far as the angsty energy goes, because the moon is a magnet that pulls things to the surface from us. I'm really feeling a lot of like mental anxiety and like going back and forth, feeling like you want to do something, having that, there's like a lot of fire kind of energy with this as well, right? Like having that need to do something, but not really knowing what to do, and then maybe taking action based on your wounding, or feeling like you need to do something to keep yourself safe and small, when in actuality, we're being asked just to go within, take a pause if you don't know what to do. Remember that there are no mistakes, right? That's part of what Mars in Leo is also just fucking around and find out, right? Like, creating for the sake of creating, not always needing things to be perfect, like just taking action even though you're not ready yet, because you're never gonna be ready, right? If you wait until you're ready, it's never going to happen. You have to take action before you're ready, and the way will make itself known as you move forward. Now, finally, as far as aspects go here, we do have a lot of support. So you can see part of it forming here as far as a cradle goes. So supportive energies involving Mars and Pluto, as well as Uranus and Saturn, and the lunar event here as well. Okay, so Uranus and Taurus is like innovation and freedom when it comes to your physical world and your ability to shake things up. And then I've already described the dynamics here with the others, like this seriousness, devotion with your spirituality, making a plan to create a more magical life, sticking to it, blind faith, having faith in yourself as the curator of your reality, remembering that these old oppressive structures were intentionally introduced into humanity in order to keep us locked in the external locus of control and toiling away in the physical world, which is part of the experience of being a human, but not the entire experience. Like, you're here to think differently. You're here to be differently. You're here to expand your horizons, open yourself up to new experiences, and ultimately decide what experience you want to have. So overall, I would say themes from this moon would be a mental overhaul. Like, that would be the primary thing that's coming through, is like thinking differently, new thought paradigm, out with the old beliefs, in with new. And it maybe isn't clear yet, but in order to get clear, you have to get still and go within and stop looking outside of yourself for advice. Mercury is getting highlighted, so transmission and communication, both with the energy with Mercury itself in Cancer and the aspects that are playing against that, but also with all of this Gemini energy, right? Because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, right? So reclaiming your voice, throat chakra. It's kind of funny that I had throat chakra issue when I was recording this, right? So like, just say the thing you're afraid to say. Don't worry about being too much or not enough. You lose the people that you are meant to broadcast to when you are watering yourself down. This is a lesson that I have been learning repeatedly. As I am an agitator, I am somebody, I have an Aries, Mars, and Mercury, okay? Like, I'm here to offend people. I'm here to speak first and think later kind of idea. And sometimes it's great, sometimes it gets me into trouble, but that's just how it is, right? Everything has a gift and a curse, essentially. So looking at your true sidereal and figuring out where your Mercury is in particular would be helpful with this, to learn how it is that you communicate. Again, this is something that I am going through in my course that's starting tomorrow, 13 Nacho Mama's Astrology. The door to this live round will be closing once I drop the first lesson tomorrow, so depending on when you hear this, it might be too late. If you're really keen to join, though, maybe send me a message and we'll see what we can do. There is also an ebook and a free ChatGPT prompt to learn how to read your chart for absolutely no financial investment at all, for those of you who are still limited by the old paradigm as far as your current circumstances go. That is part of the mission that I'm here to complete, is to remove the paywalls and the gatekeeping from spiritual teachings, because you shouldn't have to pay for enlightenment. You should be able to access this information. It should be taught to us from childhood, but it's not, because that's the experience that we're here to unwind, okay? And remember, everything is neutral, right? So like, when you first get into these sorts of realizations, it can be really overwhelming in a sense, because you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this evil energy and the overlords and the control and this and that. We've been lied to, blah, blah, blah. Right? And yes, but like, that's neutral inherently. It's just part of the game. Your soul signed up to have that experience, and that's what you're here to do. And the sooner that you can remain neutral about it, stop getting pulled into the emotional butthurtness of whatever circumstance is limiting you, the sooner you can move forward as the conscious curator of your reality. Okay. And so this is basically this energy of this new moon. Like I said, even though it is a new moon, which is like the dark point of the lunar cycle, it really is giving go time to me. Now, it may be giving go time in a way that is instilling stillness within you to go within, because you're not quite sure how to take action. But I encourage you to just do something to move the dial forward. Remember that B+ work or C work is something. It doesn't always have to be an A+. Now, with all of this mental energy, there is, again, like I said, this theme. Like, I'm actually kind of feeling it in my being. I'm going to go to the beach as soon as I'm done recording this to ground myself, because I live in an apartment building in a cement box, basically surrounded by Wi-Fi. So if you're somebody in a similar type of situation, you spend a lot of time on technology or using your mind a lot, you might be feeling a little bit anxious or like spinny, or, you know, kind of that like edgy, angsty energy that it needs to be moved through you via grounding. Okay. Breath work, somatic dance, ecstatic dance, grounding, salt baths, anything that you can do to get your body into a more relaxed state will help you to move through the potential nervous energy. So yeah, I think that would be like the primary action items that I would say would be to ground yourself, to make sure that you're not losing yourself in the mental chatter potential of this new moon. Also, with all of this Pisces energy still happening, and like the square here going on with the Saturn, Neptune, Pisces situation here, there is also this potential for disillusionment or escapism, getting lost in addictions, wanting to lose yourself in another person, even scrolling online can be potential, right? So remember that you're here to have human experiences, and there's all sorts of tools that can help you, but feeling into how those tools actually affect you in the long run, right? Mental clarity around how your actions and what you're doing is actually affecting you in the long run will help you to discern what is a gift and what is a curse in any given moment. Like, for example, myself, I have this love-hate relationship with cannabis, in the sense that, like, out of everything that I've been addicted to, it is, a healing medicine in a lot of capacities. And it definitely helps me when I'm in a state of burnout or overstimulated. But then it dampens me from actually taking action and being able to do the more masculine-oriented aspects of creation. So I'm constantly reevaluating whether I'm using cannabis as a tool to help me, or I'm using it as a way to numb myself, right? And currently I'm using it to numb myself. So I'm going to knock it off with that again for now, right? But it's not like black and white. And I don't have like this need to white knuckle sobriety anymore. I just need to abstain from certain things when I'm in certain phases, because right now I'm in a go phase. Right? So just discernment as far as what you're doing and how you're doing it and how it is making you feel. Maybe doing some brain dumping if you are feeling that anxious energy, to just write out. Like when I was early on in my spiritual journey, brain dumping was huge for me. It's just basically automatic writing, right? So I had a hard time naming my feelings or even having feelings. So writing out the physical sensations and then just kind of free flowing from that, because when you're writing by hand, your hand can't go as fast as your brain does, right? So it's a great way to slow the mental process down and actually process what is coming through. So that would be a good activity with this energy. And then I would challenge you to just take one move. Like I said, just one move to express yourself in a way that felt scary before, right? Put yourself out there in a way that your old self or maybe your previous nervous system structure would not allow. And let me know in the comments what that is for you. What is it that scares you? How would you like to move forward with this energy? As always, if you're still listening to this transmission at this point, thank you so much for supporting me with your ears and eyes and hearts. I think that's about all I have to say about this new moon. I would love to hear what you think about these energies, how they're affecting you, either in the comments of this video, or you can join the Discord server. The Bright Lights Collective is a private space for the cosmic black sheep and misfits to join together and connect with other weirdos. There's no cost to join the free tier. There are private channels for those who are in the course or people who would like to be part of my group coaching, the inner circle, but you don't need to join either of those in order to be part of the collective. So why don't you check that out? Come have a chit chat with me there. And again, if you're still listening to this, thanks for supporting me with your ears and eyes and hearts, and I will see you in the next one.